My eyes look tired.
Oh my stars and stripes.
Right here somewhere.
I don't know.
Okay. Ready? Guys, let's just bring people into the reality of our situation. It is 11:26 p.m. You guys over there look like you just woke up.
We literally just
I have
woke
an excuse. I just had LASIK, so I'm totally good.
Bro.
Our kids asked us to lay with them, and then Aaron and Addie walked in. They're like, "You're up."
Y'all promise y'all were just sleeping over there?
Oh, stop.
Yeah, okay. Before we get there, everything's bigger in Texas. The friend groups, the podcast seasons, the emotions, the trauma, everything's bigger. And I thought, why not just prove that? And you were about to be crying together, and whenever you cry together, it's good to have like sympathy food,
What?
soul food, all that kind of stuff. And I just thought, why not, before we get to the sadness, why not just start out with something sweet? And so I brought onto the episode a special guest. One moment, please. The world famous, I hope you're watching, Jumbo Round Rock Donut.
What?
I've been waiting for this all day. If you're not
I'm
watching,
actually so excited for this.
if you're not watching, this isn't a dozen donuts. This is
What?
I've never seen this. I've
Oh.
never.
This is one.
And I'm actually so hungry. I'm like,
It's one donut.
Just what
So-
you need.
As we cry together, as you cry and as you listen, just take the giant donut and just take a nice little comfort bite to feed your soul. And so what we're going to do right now is we're just going to all go around and take a bite of the donut.
oh,
Who has that gotten here all day without a bite out?
this is
It's
so
been
cute.
here all day. Okay.
I think I saw that over on the floor.
All right.
It's so
The
big.
bread that was broken. Okay.
We're eating it straight. I thought we were gonna like pinch and grab. You just
You
went
drink from
straight
the same cup.
There you go.
Pass it down.
from the sink. We go again.
Mmm.
This
But
is
for
amazing.
real?
We all end up with COVID.
That's nice,
It
huh?
just feels so.
That
I
is
feel like
nice.
very.
Did you get that this morning?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
It's fresh.
I know. It's unbelievable.
It tastes amazing.
It truly is the biggest donut I've ever seen. Have y'all seen a bigger?
What's
Take
happening
a bite, Britt.
This is beyond not what I expected from this episode.
Okay, so now just put it in the box,
Oh my
and
God.
anytime something like hits, it's like, ooh, that's good. Just say, pass the donut. I gotta take a bite. All right. So
Are you
the-
being serious?
yeah, I am being so serious.
Oh my-
Like the donut's gonna just be how we make sure that we just, we don't want to go like, this isn't a funeral. So it's like, it's, we want to make sure we keep this thing,
My opposite.
yeah, like
The man's
Quite
alive.
literally a celebration of life.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, anyways, if you're not watching, I would just highly recommend just coming really quick over to Spotify or YouTube, because would y'all say that this is probably the biggest donut
Yes.
ever?
For sure.
Yeah.
I think the next biggest donut I've ever seen is not even remotely close.
When has he ever seen a bigger donut than that? When have you ever seen a bigger donut?
No, you're saying the next
Oh,
one
oh.
is not even close.
It's just when you go into a donut shop and you're looking for the biggest one, and there's just one that's like a centimeter bigger than the rest.
Yeah, but that's
That's
a
it.
whole different. That's a big donut,
Yeah.
and so
Thank you for
that's
that.
yeah.
About that.
I'm glad we got to just start here. And I just, like I said, whenever you need it,
Pass
just
the bread.
pass it over. Just say, I need the donut. So, but we're not talking about donuts in this episode. No, we're not. We are talking about Mr. Van Shamblin. This podcast was a last minute addition to the season. And here's how we got here. So, we recorded the full group episode that you can go watch on YouTube. And out of that episode, what we did not expect, as we were all just talking about our lives and how we all became friends, was there was this really amazing moment where I got to hear for the first time Van's story, like origin story in the Modern Family, like in the friend group. And it is by far one of the most, I think it's just at the core of who we are, a great example of why we exist and who we are wanting to reach and who we are wanting to be. And I was like, man, this can't be like a little sub story within a big story. This has to have its own moment on the season. And so, Van, thank you for being here. How about you introduce your wife really quick?
Absolutely. So I'm Van. Thank y'all. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share this story. And this is my wife, Jessie. And yeah, it's just a really cool experience to get here to talk.
How long have y'all been married?
3 years.
And how many kids do you have?
We have 2 kids, 2-year-old and a 9-month-old.
Thick of it. Yeah.
We're in it.
Okay, and you've both been on an episode already today, but introduce yourself and the relationship.
I'm Lauren, and I'm Van's older sister, and this is my husband.
Britt.
And you
A
have
man of few words. We have 4 kids. We just had our 4th 2.5 months ago.
nice.
We are as well in the thick of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay, so let's just get right into it. And this is, if you're listening, I hope that this is just a story that inspires you. It's not really anything that's like going to be super profound in the sense of like, here's 3 truths about community. It's nothing like that. It's literally just the power of community exemplified through someone's real life experience. And so,
can I just say, I didn't know that we were going to go there. Like, it shocked everybody. I know we were going to introduce ourselves like on that bonus episode, but I didn't know we were going there. And you said things that like, we haven't addressed, but I think that also speaks to what's happened in your life. Anyways, it was a super authentic moment.
Yeah, I would say it when I started introducing, it's almost impossible not to go to the depths based on how I came to the group, how I came into this community. And kind of, I didn't intend on it going there either. And just as like the words started pouring out, I was like, I can't talk about this without being real.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that's what I think. When your life has been changed, it's so crazy that when you've been through something hard and you've been at the depths and you've been at the low, and then your whole life has completely changed, how before that it was like impossible to go deep, and then after that you almost can't not go deep. You almost can't exist on the surface anymore. Like, there are so many times I've had the most awkward moments with people that are strangers that within the first 5 minutes, I ask them what is, I guess, a deep question. It's not deep to me, but to them, they're like, whoa, we just met. Like, take me to dinner first. And I'm like, oh,
why?
that's just that. I thought that was just a get to know you question.
Yeah.
And it's just, but it's because I've just seen, we all have just, we realize where we've been and where we are. And there's just no other choice but then there's no time to waste. And it's time just to get there and go there and to tell people this is what's happened in my life. Like, people have to know. And so I'm excited. I'm so glad that we're at a place to get to talk about this. I think another reason why this podcast exists is I think you're just one of many stories in the group, one of many miracles. And there's going to get to be a space for a lot of people to get to share their powerful stories. And so I'm glad we're starting here with y'all though. And so let's start, actually, your story in the friend group actually starts with your sister and Britt. And so we've talked about in a previous episode how y'all got into the friend group. And after you kind of got your feet wet and rooted in the friend group, you started to let people in on your life, and that involved your brother. And so just kind of bring us into where y'all's relationship was at and the prayers that you were asking for and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so we were, I would say probably like maybe 3 or 4 years before my brother joined that we were with the group, would you say? And it was all throughout, like when you were in college. And our lives changed not in as much of a drastic way that my brothers did. I'm not tooting my own horn, but that's just how our stories lay out. But we prayed for you for a long time. And
yeah, I mean, in that process of like when that all was happening with Van, and like we kind of thought we knew what was going on, but it was just kind of assumptions and things we would see on like holidays and things like that. Like I was still kind of trying to get my feet wet of like new friendships. And so there was kind of a, what all do we share and how close do we get? And then there was kind of a point where I think went all in and just started sharing everything about our lives. And like, that was like a big part was your brother and like y'all's relationship and how close you were, and kind of emphasis, I think, on were and not where you were at that moment. And it was just like a tough season for you and for us. And we were just like concerned and love Van and looking for kind of guidance, advice, prayers for the group. And I mean, that's a big part of what the community is, like leaning on people for that. And
I think another good example of like our friends just kind of had to know. We were at our friend's house, Aaron and Addie, who are part of the community group, and I received a phone call from my brother, and he was in jail. You just gotten out of jail, actually. And I was like freaking out, and you told me the whole story, and I had to leave the room to like take the phone call, and I came back and I was like, my brother like just got out of jail. Like it's so weird talking about this because we're so close. We've always been so close, and we're so close now. But I was like, I don't know who that is. Like there was a season there where I was like, I don't know like where my brother went, kind of. And anyways, so I asked the community group to pray for you, and we did. And yeah, I'll let you go from there.
Yeah. So y'all had started y'all just started praying, and that's kind of like where the community was before they knew you. They were praying for you, and so now bring us in, Van, onto where your life was at this point, and where you were while the group back here was like praying for you.
Yeah, in that moment, right? First of all, I didn't know any of this was going on. I was clearly just in my own world, and it was so broken. I had truly given up on family and relationships, and had decided that I didn't want to be a part of my family's life. I didn't want to succumb to that.
Like we were very, very close growing up. It was just my brother and I. And so our family of 4 was like extremely close. And so it was strange to like not be close for those years. So it was very obvious, you know?
So when did you start? What had you start going astray?
I think it was the underlying feeling of shame and guilt that was kind of pushing me in that direction. I will say at that moment in my life, was struggling the most, and just absolutely not quite at rock bottom, that I was on a one-way track towards rock bottom, dealing with extended period of substance abuse, dealing with eating disorder, of that to kind of go in, and I'll weave in and out. But specifically in that moment, I was really abusing steroids specifically, which that impacted my...
I've never heard you say that out loud till just now. But like we knew it. That's just this is the weird thing about this podcast. Like things just come out. Like
it was like real time processing.
Yeah, but like honestly, even you saying stuff like this out loud, like it just goes to show like honestly how much you've changed, because I think, you know, you can say this too, but like so much was hidden, and it was like we were walking in so much like lies almost, but like it's like we all knew kind of, but like Brett said earlier, we just assumed, but it was always like hiding it or covering it up or like coming up with a story, and so like we could never like, you know what I mean? So even hearing you say it out loud is like...
I'd say the best place to start is kind of wind back a little bit. I guess origination, and like over the years processing this, drawing tracing it back, asking the whys, where did this come from? How did this evolve? Really all started with eating disorder first. And, I grew up very overweight, and a lot of the times was like bullied for my weight, made fun of.
He was precious.
Even on
almost beat a girl up on the playground.
She did. We could go on probably multiple stories like that, but Lauren would always come to my defense.
Like nothing made me more mad.
And just dealing with that, like that shame and that guilt, and at such a young age, I didn't quite get it. And I was just like, why me? Like, why me? Like, I didn't understand the root of those kind of insecurities. So as I got older, and that stuff like really mattered to me, one summer I just was sick and tired of it. Didn't have a girlfriend, never had any interest. People just made fun of me, for being overweight. I went home one summer, lost 75 pounds.
When he was in high school.
When I was in high school, and came back that year with like washboard abs.
Literally.
Okay, man.
No, literally. It was like
my dude locked in.
And it was almost like, it was almost worse for you probably because after that summer people would see you and everyone would be like, oh my
Well, just to like interject here, that was when I met Van. I've only known Van as like washboard abs and like Mr. Social, and so like I didn't even hear these stories for a couple years because it was the start of him like going down this path, but it was like early on, so it wasn't like, it didn't seem terrible. It was just like, this is Van. And I was like, this dude's a stud.
Yeah. I think this is such a thing with guys and no one talks about it. Like our bodies are how we portray ourselves. Like no one talks about it. And it's in everyone.
Yeah.
And I think girls talk about it a lot, but I do not think guys do. And guys are so insecure about their bodies. I mean, guys are constantly looking in the mirror, constantly checking their hair, constantly checking their, like, just the way they look. And so I do have a question. You lose the weight. Did you lose the insecurities?
Not at all. I'll tell you, during that time frame, I mean, I went on to, first of all, I got incredible positive feedback. And finally, I got like interest in my looks and interest in like friends, and like it was like exciting and fun, which only made things worse for me, because then it was all ego driven, and it was like, okay, this is results. Like I'm reaping the benefits of this traumatic eating disorder, right? And also what came with that is shame and guilt and fear, because I want to be a masculine man, right? And how shameful and embarrassing was it for me to be struggling with an eating disorder? And so I think that's where the lie really started.
I have a memory of, it's interesting because like we all, like our family knew, but we didn't like really talk about it. And I have a memory of you like yelling, you're on the stairs and you're like, you're using choice words, but you're like basically saying, I don't have an eating disorder. I'm not a girl. And you were like so angry that you were being accused of that, but we like knew it. And I just remember that was the thing. It's like, it was so like, it just wasn't masculine to you. And that was like,
I was about to say another stigma around eating disorders is that it was just for girls, especially back then.
Right.
And I think that is also another thing that needs to be talked about, because there are so many men, again, that struggle with, I don't even think like, you know, for example, you could even talk about steroids to a degree that is like trying to manipulate your body in a way that it was not meant to be. Like it wasn't meant to be on a fast track in that way. And with that kind of, that avenue to get those muscles and to be that way. And all of it is rooted, I think, in a lot of very similar things that, again, to that point, you probably didn't feel like you could talk about it because especially back then, it was just like a girl thing.
For sure. And it only got worse, right? Because then now I'm looked at as like masculine because I have the look for it. I was very successful in powerlifting because I got very fit very quickly. And then from there went straight into the Marine Corps. And so now I'm an 0331 machine gunner in the Marine Corps, and the stigma around that was, I mean, totally masculine, right? And it's just a really a testosterone driven match, right? Who can outman the other people. And so then it was, I have to project this image throughout my entire life of masculinity, good looking, social, I've got everything together, I'm the best of the best, so that those insecurities inside of me, because I was so fearful of people finding out the truth. And the truth is that I was bulimic and had an eating disorder, and I was struggling, and I couldn't keep a meal down, and I couldn't pass a reflection or a mirror or put on a shirt or anything, or have a conversation and even engage with somebody, because the entire time I'm thinking about how they are looking at me. And to say, like, did the insecurities change? They worsened. Well, I look back at pictures when I was fresh out of boot camp, or powerlifting and chiseled, like should have been in a magazine. And I remember during that time frame, like almost passing out daily from starving myself, and like struggling so hard, thinking like how fat I was, and not being able to get ready in time for school, because I was trying on like different shirts, different clothes to try to make myself like look thinner. And I look back and I'm like, man, if I had that, and it's just funny. Right. It's just funny. I'm like, no, the abs didn't help at all. It even made it worse.
Which is, I think, crazy. It just is a testament to anyone with any insecurity that if you think getting to the result is the answer, it's not. You don't go results focus, you go roots focus. You got to go backwards before you can progress forward. And I think so many people, they're like, okay, the result I want is girls, people to say I'm fit, and people to look at me like I'm a masculine male. So what's going to be the fast track to get that result? Then you get the result, or then you get the promotion, or then you get the money, and then you're still more insecure. You're still just as unsatisfied. So why didn't it work? If that was what was supposed to work, why didn't it? And it's because it's not fixing what's all beneath the surface of that insecurity. And so you continue on, you go to the Marines, and then what happened after that?
Yeah. Really just kind of, I can block this whole phase or stage, years of my life all kind of in one, because it was such a blur, and it was really all kind of surface level and fake. But Marines into college, and of course, like eating disorder, still I'd struggled and kind of dabbled with substances, and we can go through the laundry list of the substances. And as I process, I just kind of think like, no, I don't think I was a cocaine addict. I don't think I was addicted to barbiturates or you name it. I think I was addicted to disassociating, making that fear and shame and guilt and insecurity go away and project onto everyone else the image that I was hoping people would see me as. And I'll say the Marine Corps, love the Marine Corps. Super proud of that time of my life. Some of the ego drive fed into that a little bit, where now I'm on the inside, I'm very, very insecure, and I'm dealing with eating disorder, substance abuse, and really struggling internally. And externally, I'm invincible. Externally, I fear nothing. And so I kind of coupled that, my projections with the substance abuse, and I had no fear of rock bottom.
You also went from that to pledging our fraternity at like a really, really like party school, I guess you could say. Like your environment there, like maybe touch on that too.
Yeah. So of course, going from the Marine Corps into a fraternity at a party school, there was a lot of praise and enabling around that, right? And so I really just fell into that pattern where it was not only now did I have to hide it, right? Because for years, like at home, in the Marines, definitely have to hide this. Like I can't be doing this stuff in front of Marines and my family. Now it's completely acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I can lean into it full time. And so then it was, I can't even say it was like a bender, because it was every single day for years.
I remember you told me, not recently, but it was like after that phase, you told Britt and I, like, there were some days that you would wake up and you would be like, this is the day, like, I am not going to do cocaine today. Like, I'm not going to do it. And then you would get on the bus and you were like, putting in your headphones, like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And you like enter the library and they would have like lines on the table, like, come on, like you were going there to study.
Mm-hmm.
And you just had it. Like, I do remember you saying like that environment was almost impossible to like escape what you're.
Yeah, it was very difficult. I will say too, like, as I'm projecting this personality, I wanted to become, in a weird way, I became the enabler. For myself and probably for other people as well. And so it was continuous. It was push the limit. And I will say during this time frame too, like when you mix, I was injecting high levels of test, deca, trin, steroids, testosterone, D-ball, trinabol, anyway, high levels of steroids. And then I was mixing that with amphetamines in the morning, cocaine throughout the day, Molly, ecstasy each night, which is throwing off my chemical balance, right? And that brought me to such, it depleted my entire body of anything chemically.
Can we bring Britt in the conversation at this point? Because at this point in your journey, I think I was in denial, and so was Mom. But it was actually Britt, like, who, it's now like your brother, so it's really sweet. But he was actually, you were the one that was like kind of raising red flags. Like,
yeah,
you raised concern, and you want to touch on that? Like, you brought it.
Yeah, I mean, it was still kind of earlier into like our marriage and still like building those relationships with your family too. So I wasn't confident in like, I'm going to protect him. There was still like kind of a fear of being almost like the Debbie Downer and not being the cool brother. And like, I wasn't to the extent of like where Van was at, but like, I definitely,
it's like, I'm no angel.
I had my fair share of like good times in college too.
Like, so I love a good beer. I love a good time.
A few of them.
It's like, who am I?
He's like, sometimes I enabled him.
Oh, let's not touch on that too much. No, but like, yeah, like there was just like a lot of mixed feelings and just unsure where it was appropriate to say some things. And I think this is not about me, but like some kind of like guilt and shame that like I did a bunch of crazy stuff in college too. And then who am I to like call someone out or like make a judgment of them? But there definitely was a point where it felt like I was seeing like a flip of a switch from like crazy, dumb college guy to like, man, like we miss who I first like met, and like the stories of like what I've heard of like who you were, and like the stories of like the relationship that you used to have with him, and it's like that's not it like right now. And yeah, there was just like a flip of the switch, I think, where it crossed that line, and I was just like, I was scared of like how long do I wait to say something before like maybe something like bad happens?
So
and
you
so that's
brought
when
it to
I asked your like mom and dad to like have a conversation, and I was like, hey, I think I'm not trying to step on toes or tell anyone how to like do anything, but like I think we're like really at a point right now where we need to have a serious conversation. Like, and I think it needs to be now. Yeah.
I would say during that time too, there was kind of a turning point where maybe it could have been viewed as like light and fun and college and young and just reckless. And then it got dark. It got really dark really fast. There was definitely a point where it went from social settings, parties, get-togethers, fun, to by myself and waking up and first things first, I'm gonna, you name it, take on these substances just to get through the day. There were many nights where I knew I was struggling with my eating disorder. I knew that I had a substance abuse problem. I would never acknowledge that, except internally I knew that this is an issue, because I could not, like there would be days where, because I'm strong-willed and I've still got that Marine in me and I've still got that drive where I'm like, I'm in control. I'm in control here. I'm driving this train. And there were days where I would try to like take a hiatus and like prove to myself that I could. And like that, I was back in it. There were times too where I would really try to push myself throughout the night in hopes of finding that breaking point. Really just, I know, because there's times I remember alone in my room, doing more, taking more, hoping that I could just go peacefully in my sleep and not have to wake up, and do it all over again.
I think that was like our fear. Like whenever Britt talked to mom and dad texted you, and I remember you texted me like a really scary message, and I took it as I really thought like you were giving up, and dad did too. And I remember he like got in the car, and it was like a really, really scary day. But
yeah, he took me to lunch at Herbert's.
Yeah. So do you want to tell about like what y'all talked about on that day?
Yeah, he was just really concerned, rightfully so. He was just really concerned with where I was at. And of course, I talk pretty well sometimes when I'm not talking about stuff like this. And so I think I just tried to talk my way out of it, and we never got anywhere. And just kept it surface level. But
no, I'm talking about the time that dad texted you and was like, you're done. Like, you're coming home. You're done. That was literally January 1st.
Yes. Okay. So that was later.
So talk about that.
Yeah. So I thought we were getting to it.
Yeah, we are.
Let's go.
We've got oh, sorry. My bad.
No, you're doing great.
So anyways, there was a point where things got really dark. During that time period, I got arrested. I attempted a few times to OD and to kind of take myself during that time frame, and woke up each time. I spent a week in Miami, a week in Pensacola, and then 2 weeks in Vegas, back to back to back to back. Came home and then went to Dallas and for New Year's. And so I'm talking skipping finals, skipping about 2 months of school, and was just bender on boats in Vegas doing this, just really kind of like last too raw kind of stuff. Come to have it, I'm standing at the top in a suite at the top of the Omni in Dallas a night after New Year's, and I'm standing looking at the window, looking over Dallas, probably thinking like, wow, we got it so good. Look at us. We're at the top of the world. and just at the rock bottom, like just so empty, and just thinking like, look at us now, it's just so ignorant.
I was like,
just so totally Delulu. And anyways, I get a phone call from my dad, and that was rare at that time.
like, what is he want?
And it was even more rare for me to answer it. I would have looked at it typically probably and just been like, not doing that. I'm not answering that, especially not in this state, and it was a bad state. And so I felt something inside of me that was like, you have to answer this phone call. This is very important. And I answered, and it was a different tone than I'd ever heard from my father. And he said, I don't care where you are. I'm not calling to ask what you're doing. I'm just calling to ask you to come home. And I did. And I looked around the room and I was like, hey, something's happening and I need to go home. So I drove from Dallas to Georgetown, Texas. Probably the scariest, unsure 3-hour drive I've ever had in my life. Pull up, walk inside, and my entire family, Lauren and Britt included, are inside of our childhood home. And it was an intervention. And fear, of course, came over me. And my initial reaction is fight or flight. And I don't run, I fight. And it was deny and, and just go back into that getaway kind of phase.
But I do feel like with this time, like, it was less of that. It was a little bit of that at the beginning, but then, like, you really just had this posture of, like, it was almost like you were waving the white flag, like, I give up. And I feel like that was honestly one of the first times I've ever seen you, like, be honest, was on that couch, like, remember? And we were like, he's just saying the truth. But, like, again, we all knew it. And you kind of just had a breaking point. I remember that day that you were like, here's what I did. And then you told Britt and I at our house. Really.
Yeah, I think the second I heard y'all talk, and it was love. I felt loved and I felt seen. There was no shame. There was no guilt. And for so long, I had not just believed, but taken ownership of the black sheep of our family. So much so that I'm going to prove everyone either wrong or right, but I'm going to own this thing and I'm going to take it and I'm burning everything down in my path. And it was the first time in a long time that I really felt loved and cared about for my family. And I realized that they truly want to see me do good. They truly want me to be a part of their lives and to live. And so I chose, I really got an ultimatum, a decision, and it was, just come home. Just come home, and we want to help you. After speaking truth for the first time and kind of laying it all out there and talking about the substance abuses, the life I was living, and it was either, come home or we can't help you anymore. It was kind of like a last ditch effort, cry for my life. And I chose to stay, and I went, I think the next day, so it's January 1st, 2020.
Yeah.
The next day I got my truck and a trailer and drove to my house at college, and I packed up everything in my house and moved back. And Lauren helped me enroll, looking at colleges to transfer to and get the life moving in the right direction. I'll tell you, in that moment, my biggest fear was that my life was gone initially, that it was going to be boring and it was going to be hard. And I'll tell you one thing, it was hard. It was very, very difficult to walk through, realizing how much of regret. By the way, January 1st, 2020 was the last time I touched drugs. I actually, side note, sorry, mom and dad, I had quite a bit on me.
You did at the time?
Oh, yeah.
Always
And I awkwardly had to like find a way to dispose of and get rid of.
Donut. It's like pasta donut.
I know. Yeah, donut time. No, I'm just joking. But
okay, we then took you to
so that
community
was,
group.
I believe somebody can fact check me on this, but I think January 1st, 2020 could have been a Monday or Tuesday. Regardless, we have community group every Thursday.
And which Brett and I had been praying that you would just come. But honestly, I was very doubtful that I was like, Vanna's not going to want to be here. But
Understandably, too, like your life is just flipped upside down. Like, let's go like hang out with a bunch of people I don't know. And
I'll say arguably almost harder than walking into an intervention with your entire family.
Are you serious?
Oh, it was nerve-wracking.
This was also peak whenever like The Bachelor was super popular. So we were having a Bachelor watch night that night. We weren't even having Bible study.
Yeah.
And we were just like a hangout at Brogan and Russell's house.
So a reminder, during all of this, y'all have been asking people to pray for this long lost brother named Van.
For like over a year.
So you probably told them, guys, Van's coming.
Oh, it was a huge deal. I was like, my brother's coming. And it was honestly the first time I had ever invited somebody. And I knew it was going to be my brother.
Okay, so you pull up.
I think I rode with y'all.
Yes,
I think they picked me up and I rode with them just because I was kind of a bundle of a mess at the time.
He was also detoxing, I remember.
So like detoxing withdrawals, if we can touch on that, maybe that's a hot topic. But we were in it. we were in it, and all of the conversations, all the relationships that I'd had in years past, something that I was used to, were so surface level, and it was all about like, what can you do for me? Who are you to me? What value can you add to me? You know what I mean? It was just super touch and go. Nobody cared. I actually struggled with that a lot. I didn't know I needed it. And so I didn't know what to expect, right? Walking into this room, I'd been used to this level of conversation. Nobody seeing me, nobody hearing me, nobody loving me, nobody really caring about me. It was just kind of like dog eat dog, and figured out. And so we show up, and at this point, obviously, like, I'm all in. I'm living at home with my parents. I'm detoxing. I just like dropped everything in my life. I'm trying to figure it out.
It honestly was the best. Dan was like his funniest self, and I was like, he's back, baby.
I was like, we're just hit reset, dude. We're just gonna hit reset on this whole thing.
And he like had everyone like cackling on the couch. Yeah, and I was just so happy.
We're going to community group. Awesome. I'm in. Let's do
that? I'm in.
Yeah. That's really
AA.
Yeah. Like, is this another intervention? Sick. I'm all in.
Sick.
Like, I'm getting really good at these.
Yeah.
So we walk in. I don't even know what I expected, but I'm sure I was postured and prepared for to put on a show, to be whoever I thought they needed or wanted me to be, right? To kind of like fake it, work the room kind of stuff. And I walk in, and Brogan and Russell, it was their home, and they walk up to me and just embraced me and hugged me and started crying like tears, and said, "We're so thankful that you're here. Thank you so much for being in our home. We've been praying for you for over a year. I'm just so happy you're here." That was a wild first impression, right?
You're like, do I like this?
Yeah, I was like, okay, this is touching. This is hitting buttons I haven't felt. I didn't even know were there.
You're like,
right? You feel a tear fall. You're like, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
And from there, I don't want to say it was easy. Like, it wasn't like I feel like a lot of times, the stigma around really like surrendering yourself and turning your life to Christ and choosing to abide in Him is that you're choosing life and peace. While true, to me, it was more like I was choosing the opportunity to fight daily for life and peace. And it was not easy. And I want to say it is still not easy. I still struggle with the lies in this world, and I have to wake up every day with the help of my family and my wife, Jessie, and to choose to live in the truth. Full transparency, like this week, I really, really struggled with image issues, and reading comments on a social media post about myself and like weight and stuff like this, and stuff dogs on me still. So I don't want the point of this is there is so much fruit in the pursuit of Christ and in the daily fight for life and peace. It's not a light switch moment. It was an absolute 180 in my life when you look at it surface level and you look at it, the things I was doing, how I was acting. I mean, from January 1st to January 2nd, it was a completely different me. And it was a revert back to myself. And it was really just rewriting and rediscovering my true identity in Christ. And that is a daily grind too, because I go from building this image, building this positioning in society of who I want them to think I am, to absolutely nothing. And now I don't even know who I am. All I know is that I'm broken. And I've fully surrendered everything to the Lord. Thankfully, I've had the community, the family, my wife, to kind of help me pick up those pieces and point me in the right direction. And that direction is Jesus Christ. Following him and running to him whenever I hear those lies. And I see those lies and I start to believe them. And I have to continuously look towards God and say, God, what do you want me to know about this? What do you want me to do about this in this situation?
I want to say, Van, it's hearing you talk. I feel like from when I moved here less than a year ago, I'm hearing a different person speak. My first week at community group living here was the night that we spent the entire men's night. Like we did guys, girls split night. And we spent the entire night talking about your struggle with cussing at work. Okay.
Dan's like, I still struggle.
And I remember I wasn't at all judging you. There's no judgment zone over here. I cuss at work sometimes. And I know. I'm like, sorry, Jenna. Yeah. It's not even sorry. My mom would be like, hell yeah. Sorry. Christian podcast. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Let's cut that. But I remember thinking as you were talking, like, this guy is definitely on a journey. And I remember thinking, like, this guy he's honing in. Like, some people would never think it's worth bringing up, like, I'm trying to learn what it means to tame my tongue and not cuss at work. And I remember you're processing, like, I think I do it because I want men to respect me and look at me a certain way. And that's still the same. Think about it. That still dates all the way back to all of it. But now you're not talking about, so I revert to drugs or I revert to an eating disorder. Now you're even honing in on, like, just like the way you speak. And if that ain't the Lord, I don't know what is. But now hearing you just in those 9-10 months, hearing you speak on this podcast, I'm like, you didn't even know then. Like, you weren't able to figure out why you were like, it was still like you were like, you needed us to speak into it because you were like, I just do this, I just do that, I just do it, I don't know why, whatever. That was kind of like, you know, we talked about the whys and all.
5 whys.
Yeah, 5 whys deep. And and now hearing you talk, I'm like, you have discovered who you are. Like, you are confident in who God made you to be, and you have a story to share. And it's not from a place of like, woe is me. It's like, this is my story, and this is what God's done, and here's what he has rewritten in my life. And it's just so, it's crazy. I'm like hearing you talk. I'm like, you just sound like such a mature man.
Yes.
It's awesome.
And it's
I
so
love it.
crazy how that's what you were searching for so long, to come off like a mature man.
Yeah.
And I
like,
think right now in this episode, I'm like, you just sound like a man.
Yes.
Like you just do.
As interesting you say that, because as I was watching him speak, I was like, I wish I could take this clip of my little brother and show it to myself when I was like really scared for you, because I didn't know, like, you just don't know what the future holds. Like, you can go one way or the other, and like we prayed like crazy for you, but we weren't sure if God was gonna do it. But like, I wish I could give myself this picture, because it's just I'm so proud of you. And God's just so sweet, because he, like, how did we, like, I look back and I'm like, this is only God. Only God made you meet Aaron. Only God made like, so many things happen that like got us to here. And now you're sitting here with your wife, who's precious, and she's my best friend now. And she points me to Jesus, and we're raising, you have 2 babies, and we're raising all of our babies to know Jesus. And it's like, God took, like, why? We didn't even deserve it. And he took our family, and he just had favor on us. And it's like, I don't know why, but I'm so thankful. And anyways, this story always just brings me back to that. Like, he's been so good to people who didn't deserve it.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of you for listening to him.
I think you, Van, I just want to encourage you and just say you are exactly where and who God wants you to be. And who Van is today is a Van that I am proud to be friends with. And I am proud to know. And I'll say, when I think about even all the guys in our friend group, that I always tell Jenna, my wife, this, like, I'm like, I love my time with Van, because it's so funny. Like, what you breathe to me is confidence. And you're probably like, whoo, if you only knew, like, but like your humor, and when you're fully yourself, when you're fully Van, I'm like, it makes me want to be fully JD.
Yeah.
It draws something out of me. It draws out humor. It draws out deep laughs. It brings out so much. And so I just want to say, as I know, if Satan has a mission towards anything, towards believers, it's to revert them back to who they're not. And he wants to make them forget who they are. And he is going to continue with comments. I mean, dude, all of us are opening ourselves up with this kind of stuff to a world of opinions of people that do not know us. But I just want to say right now, as someone who does know you, surrounded by people who do know you, I don't give a crap what strangers have to say. I know you, and you are an amazing man of God. And it inspires me. Both of you deeply inspire me. And your walk and your pursuit of the Lord, it's contagious. And I think I wanted to selfishly have this episode and be reminded of your story, because I want to share that same thing into the life of others. I think it's going to inspire and encourage a lot of people to be honest. Lauren, I think there's a lot of people in your position they've got a family member who's wayward or far off. And this is just a reminder to not lose hope, and that your prayers aren't hitting the ceiling, that God hears you and he has timing and it's perfect. And he knew we would be sitting here today. He's not surprised by any decision you made back then, and he's not surprised that we are here today. And that's the same for anyone listening in your circumstance. And so as we wrap up, I'm going to let you kind of take us home, but with whatever you just want to share with people listening. But I just want to say, I just hope that this is an encouragement. Like your story, it's such an encouragement to me, to anyone listening, that you're not too far gone, that God knows who you are, and he wants to tell you who you are, and he wants you to walk fully confident in who he's made you to be.
Amen.
That was good.
Yeah, I'll say, the devil's at work. He really is. And, I think for so long, we processed and talked about this today, and throughout our marriage, we've processed and talked about this. One, asking like, why me? Why am I dealing with an eating disorder? Why me? This doesn't make sense. Why do I have to struggle with this? I'm such a XYZ.
Mm-hmm.
I deserve better, or I project this. Why do substances have such a strong grip on me? I wrestled with that for a long time. But I truly believe that I'm called by the Lord, by name, in my true identity in Christ, to be a waymaker. And what the devil is doing in my life and working in that way is making me believe those lies about myself, so that I don't put myself out there, so that I shut down, and I'm not who I'm supposed to be in him. I will also say, in that moment, like those breaking point moments where I thought all was lost, where am I going from here? To meet my wife a year later on a ski trip in Park City, Utah, and she had been walking through the same thing, not the same, but very similar. And if I had met her a year prior of who I was, we would not be sitting here today.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting is like the both of y'all have changed our community group, I believe. Like I feel like y'all have done so much in our. It's just so cool what God can do. Like y'all are y'all add so much to this group. But continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and just the motivation to not be conformed to the norms of this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. God's not done with me. God's not done with our marriage. The devil's not done with me.
Yeah.
We look at this week alone. Here we are on a podcast talking about this, an event that happened 5+ years ago. And it's still at work in my life today, but surround yourself with community. Let them in. I lived a lie. I hid everything from everyone and projected this false image of who I wanted everyone to see me as. And it wasn't until I started letting people in that I could release that grip on me. That does not mean that it went away, because it's still there. He's still shooting arrows. But man, it helps to have you guys. It helps to have community. It helps to have a wife who is pursuing the Lord so fiercely that sometimes it rocks my world and throws me off, and I don't quite get it sometimes. And I'm running as hard as I can to try to keep up with you. I know. And I'm trying to figure it out. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this girl's on fire. And she makes me better every single day. And just reminds me, to your point, JD, to live in the truth. And the truth, when you find out the lie that you're believing about yourself and you reveal that to yourself and the others with you, around you, walking through life with you, that is just as important as finding out the truth in your life. Because now, when you feel something, when you feel shame or you feel guilt or you feel whatever that emotion is that you're feeling that's drawing you away from being who Christ intended you to be, I can pinpoint it and I can draw it back, and I can now realize the truth and say, no, this is not real.
Yeah.
This is something that the devil is trying to attack me with, and I can lean on my support and lean on my community and my family, and lean towards God.
And I want to say too, like within the community, you walking in and them just like hugging you and loving you and saying like, we've been praying for you. Their eyes are so fixed on Jesus because he is the prime example of how the Lord wants us to live our lives, that they tried to do that daily, like within their walk with God, and trying to be like Jesus. Like, you go through so many pruning seasons, but the Lord just had his hand over you in so many ways and over y'all. And like with the community trying to live like Jesus, their eyes were not fixed on themselves. They were so fixed outwardly and like, how can I serve you? And your story is like, you were so looking inward that you couldn't even look at anybody else around you. You couldn't even get to know the person in front of you because your eyes were so fixed on yourself. And jumping into a community where they're like, oh, we see you. You were then able to be like, oh, I see you. And I want to know you. And like, why are you the way that you are? And that just straight shot you to Jesus, who saved your life and is like continuously like pruning you and us constantly.
I'll say, I know we're close to wrapping. We need to wrap. It's getting late.
We're wrapping.
If I could just leave anyone with a message, whatever you're going through, right? Whether it's an eating disorder and you think that that's not manly and you're ashamed of it. If it's substance abuse and that's embarrassing to acknowledge, if it's suicidal thoughts, if it's, whatever it may be that you're experiencing, that's not your story. That is God's story. You don't need to feel shame or guilt, or fear of bringing that into light. Fear of sharing this story and this testimony with, I'm sure, family members, friends, people who haven't heard the details of this story. Of course, those thoughts are there, but some of the best advice I got going through this is God's story. You just get to foster it, and you just get to share it with people so that it may help others who are walking through this. So if you're walking through something, bring it into the light. Bring it to God, lay it down at his feet, surrender yourself to him, and lean on your community, lean on your spouse, lean on your siblings, whomever you have in your life. And here's the best part. If you have nobody in your life, you have God, and he'll take it all from you.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, thank you all for sharing. Thank you all for opening us up to, like, I know it's stuff within the family and the home can sometimes be the hardest things to share. And so we don't take that for granted. And I'm sure everyone listening is so encouraged and appreciative of every single thing that you shared. And so thank y'all. I love y'all. I'm so thankful for God's, like, everything he's written and writing in your lives. And we love everyone listening. And if you find yourself, I would just say this, if you're in a place that you're in that dark place, you're at that rock bottom, and you just need someone to pray for you or just to encourage you, reach out to us. Let us know. And we would love to just be there for you in the best that we can. So love you guys. We'll tune in. We'll hope you tune in next week on our next episode. Van out, JD out, all of us out. We're about to eat the rest of this donut and go to sleep. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.